The massive space station Kepler 442 floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. Its arms stretched out in all directions, each one designed to hold ships from different alien races. For over 200 years, this station had been the meeting place for the Galactic Federation. Today, something new was coming. Admiral Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the human ship called Indomitable Spirit. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. Next to him, Captain So-min checked her computer screens. She was younger, with sharp features and quick hands that moved over the controls. "Sir, we are getting close to the station," So-min said. Her voice was steady, but Hyun-woo could hear the excitement underneath. This was humanity's first official meeting with the galactic community. "Take us in slowly," Hyun-woo ordered. "Let them get a good look at us." The Indomitable Spirit was not like other ships that visited this station. It was a Titan-class dreadnought, built for war. The ship was 3 kilometers long and covered in armor plating. Weapon turrets stuck out from its hull like the spines of a metal beast. Its engines glowed blue-white in the darkness. On the station, alien beings pressed against viewing windows to stare at the approaching human vessel. None of them had ever seen anything quite like it. Krixtal, a diplomat from the insect-like Vextar race, clicked his mandibles nervously. His compound eyes reflected the light from the human ship. "That is not an exploration vessel," he said, to his aide. "That is a weapon of war." In another part of the station, Ambassador Shaleen of the crystal-based Zephori people watched through the transparent walls of her quarters. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors with her emotions. Right now, those colors were shifting between blue worry and red alarm. "How many weapons does one ship need?" she whispered to herself. As the Indomitable Spirit moved closer to the docking bay, the station's artificial gravity systems began to strain. Warning lights flashed on control panels throughout the facility. The human ship was so massive that its presence was affecting the station's systems. Station Commander Velnash, a member of the amphibious Aquari race, spoke into his communicator with a worried voice. "All departments prepare for heavy docking procedures. The human vessel is larger than our projections indicated." On the human ship, Engineering Officer Tae-ho monitored their approach. He was a stocky man with strong hands from years of working with machinery. "Admiral, the station is having trouble with our mass displacement," he reported. "Reduce our speed by half," Hyun-woo ordered. "We don't want to damage their facility on our first visit." The docking process took longer than usual, but eventually, the Indomitable Spirit was secured to the station's largest berth. Even then, parts of the ship extended beyond the docking clamps. It was like trying to park a battleship in a marina designed for sailboats. Hyun-woo straightened his dark blue uniform and checked his reflection. Today would determine how the galaxy saw humanity. He had handpicked his diplomatic team carefully. Besides So-min, he had brought communications specialist Da-yoon, a young woman who could speak 17 alien languages, and cultural advisor Woo-jin, an older man who had studied alien societies for decades. "Remember," Hyun-woo told his team as they prepared to board the station, "we are here to make friends, not enemies. But we are also here to make it clear that humanity is not weak." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The humans stepped into a corridor filled with artificial atmosphere that smelled like ozone and something floral. The gravity was lighter than Earth normal, making them feel slightly bouncy with each step. A delegation of aliens waited for them in the main diplomatic chamber. The room was huge, with a domed ceiling that showed a holographic display of nearby star systems. Representatives from 12 different species stood in a semicircle, each wearing their formal diplomatic clothing. General Vorthak of the reptilian Saurian Empire stood at the center of the group. He was nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales, with yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. His species had been the military backbone of the Federation for centuries. "Welcome, humans," Vorthak said in heavily accented standard. "Galactic." His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "We have heard much about your species." "Thank you for hosting us," Hyunwoo replied. His voice carried easily through the chamber. "Humanity is honored to meet with the Galactic Federation." The formal introductions took an hour. Each species presented their credentials and spoke about their role in galactic civilization. The humans listened politely, but Hyunwoo noticed how the aliens kept glancing toward the viewing ports. Through the transparent walls, parts of the indomitable spirit were visible, its weapon systems gleaming under the station's lights. Ambassador Shaolin stepped forward when it was her turn to speak. Her crystal body chimed softly as she moved. "The Zephori people are curious about human technology," she said carefully. "Your ship appears to be quite substantial." "The indomitable spirit is one of our standard diplomatic vessels," Hyunwoo answered. This was technically true, though he didn't mention that it was the smallest ship in humanity's active fleet. A ripple of concern passed through the alien delegates. If this massive warship was considered standard for diplomacy, what did human military vessels look like? Dayun had been quietly listening to the alien conversations through her translation equipment. She leaned close to Hyunwoo and whispered, "Sir, they're discussing our ship on their private channels. Several species are calling for emergency military consultations." Wu Jin, who had been studying alien body language, added his own observation. "The Saurians are trying to look confident, but their tail positions indicate stress. The Vextar are exhibiting submissive postures. Only the Aquari seem genuinely curious rather than frightened." The diplomatic meeting continued with discussions of trade, cultural exchange, and potential cooperation in scientific research. But underneath the polite conversation, everyone in the room was thinking about the same thing. The massive human warship docked outside. Krixtal finally voiced what many were thinking. "Admiral Hyunwoo, might we ask about the nature of your vessel? It seems quite heavily armed for a diplomatic mission." Hyunwoo smiled, but his eyes remained serious. "Space can be a dangerous place, Ambassador Krixtal. Pirates, rogue states, natural disasters. A diplomat's ship must be prepared for any situation. Surely the Federation understands the need for adequate protection." General Vorthak's scales rustled slightly, a sign of agitation in his species. "Indeed. Though most diplomatic vessels rely on Federation protection rather than individual armament. Humanity prefers to be self-reliant," So-Min interjected smoothly. "We believe in being prepared to protect not only ourselves, but any innocents we might encounter." The meeting concluded with agreements for further talks and cultural exchange programs. But as the delegates dispersed, the conversations immediately turned to the implications of humanity's arrival. In corridors throughout the station, alien officials spoke in hushed tones about military implications and shifting power balances. Back on the indomitable spirit, Hyunwoo's team gathered in the Admiral's ready room. Through the large windows, they could see alien ships of various designs docked at other berths. Compared to the human vessel, they all looked small and fragile. "How do you think it went, sir?" Da-un asked. Hyun-woo poured himself a cup of coffee and considered the question. Better than expected, but more complicated than we hoped. They're scared of us, but they're also intrigued. Fear and curiosity, that's a combination that could go either way. So Min pulled up tactical displays on her tablet. I counted at least 4 different species taking detailed scans of our hull. They're trying to analyze our capabilities. Let them look, Hyun-woo said. Sometimes the best diplomacy is making sure everyone understands the consequences of poor decisions. As night cycle began on the station, the human delegation settled in for what would be the first of many diplomatic challenges. Outside their ship, the galaxy was already beginning to change. The arrival of humanity and their massive vessel had shifted the balance of power in ways that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The real question was whether that change would bring peace or war. 3 days had passed since the humans arrived at Kepler 442. The station buzzed with nervous energy as alien delegations held private meetings about the newcomers. Everyone wanted to know more about human capabilities, but no one wanted to ask directly. General Vorthak had been thinking about the problem for those 3 days. As the Federation's chief military advisor, it was his job to assess potential threats. The human ship worried him. It was too big, too heavily armed, and too confident. Something needed to be done to put these newcomers in their proper place. The solution came to him during the morning briefing. The station had a combat simulation arena, originally built to test new weapon designs and train Federation officers. It could generate holographic targets and obstacles, creating realistic battle scenarios without actual danger. Vorthak made his way to the diplomatic quarters where Admiral Hyun-woo was staying. The corridors of the station seemed smaller now, with the massive human ship visible through every viewing port. Its presence was a constant reminder of humanity's arrival. He found Hyun-woo in the station's observation deck, looking out at the stars while drinking something that steamed in a small cup. The human admiral was alone, which suited Vorthak's purposes perfectly. "Admiral," Vorthak said, his scaled feet clicking on the metal floor. "I have a proposition for you." Hyun-woo turned, his face showing polite interest. "General Vorthak, please join me. This is coffee, a human beverage. Would you like to try some?" The Saurian general waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Thank you. No. My species does not consume heated liquids. I come to discuss a different matter entirely." "I'm listening." Vorthak moved closer, his yellow eyes reflecting the starlight. "The Federation has many protocols for integrating new species. One involves demonstrating military capabilities in controlled circumstances. It helps establish proper relationships." Hyun-woo sipped his coffee and waited for the general to continue. "Our station has advanced combat simulation facilities," Vorthak explained. "I propose a friendly demonstration. Your vessel against 3 of our heavy cruisers in simulated combat. It would help both sides understand each other's capabilities." The human admiral was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was carefully neutral. "That's an interesting suggestion, General. What would be the parameters of this demonstration?" "Standard. Fleet engagement scenario. No actual weapons, of course. All simulated. The computer will track hits and damage. First side to achieve total victory wins." Vorthak's scales rustled with what might have been satisfaction. "Purely educational, you understand." Hyun-woo nodded slowly. "I'll need to discuss this with my crew. When would you propose holding this demonstration?" "Tomorrow, if convenient. The entire diplomatic corps will be able to observe." "Transparency. Benefits everyone, don't you agree? After Vorthak left, Hyunwoo returned to the indomitable spirit. He called his senior officers to the briefing room. Captain So-min arrived first, followed by Commander Jin-ho, the ship's weapons officer. Jin-ho was a quiet man with steady hands and sharp eyes who had served on human warships for 15 years. The Saurians want a demonstration, Hyunwoo explained the situation. 3 of their heavy cruisers against us in simulated combat. So-min frowned. It sounds like they're trying to embarrass us, sir. Show the galaxy that humans aren't as tough as we appear. Jin-ho leaned back in his chair. What class of cruisers are we talking about, Admiral? Saurian Hammerfist class. According to our intelligence, they're the backbone of Federation military might. Each one carries a crew of 800 and enough firepower to level a small city. 3 against 1, Jin-ho mused. They're confident. Lieutenant Bo-ra, the communications officer, spoke up from her position at the side of the room. She was young, but had an excellent talent for reading between the lines of alien transmissions. Sir, I've been monitoring Federation communications since the General made his proposal. Word is spreading fast. Several species are already placing bets on the outcome. Hyunwoo raised an eyebrow. Bets? The odds heavily favor the Federation ships, sir. Most aliens assume that 3 experienced vessels will easily defeat 1 unknown human ship, no matter how big it is. So-min and Jin-ho exchanged glances. Both of them were thinking the same thing. The aliens had no idea what they were asking for. Sir, Jin-ho said carefully, are we going to hold back during this demonstration? This was the key question. The indomitable spirit was built using technology that was generations ahead of anything the Federation possessed. Its weapons, shields, and tactical systems were designed to fight opponents that didn't exist yet in galactic civilization. If the humans fought at full capability, the demonstration would be over in minutes. Hyunwoo considered the options. Hold back too much, and humanity would appear weak. Fight at full strength, and they might terrify the entire galaxy. Either choice had consequences. We'll fight smart, he decided. Show them enough to make the point, but not so much that we start a panic. Jin-ho, I want you to use standard engagement protocols, but keep our advanced systems in reserve. Understood. Sir? The next day, the combat simulation arena was packed with observers. Representatives from every species in the Federation had come to watch. The arena itself was a massive spherical chamber with holographic projectors that could create realistic space environments. 3 Saurian heavy cruisers hung in the simulated void. Each ship was sleek and predatory, covered in green and gold markings that indicated their elite status. Their crews were experienced veterans who had served in dozens of conflicts across the galaxy. The indomitable spirit entered the arena slowly, its massive bulk dwarfing the Federation vessels. In the observation galleries, aliens whispered to each other in dozens of languages. Most expected this to be a quick lesson in humility for the newcomers. General Vorthak stood in the central command position, wearing his formal military regalia. This exercise will test tactical awareness, weapons accuracy, and defensive capabilities, he announced. Computer, initialize combat scenario 77 Alpha. The simulation began with both sides at maximum weapons range. The 3 Saurian cruisers immediately spread out in a standard attack formation, trying to surround the human ship. It was a proven tactic that had worked against larger opponents before. On the indomitable spirit's bridge, Jin-ho watched the enemy movements with professional interest. Classic Federation doctrine, he observed. Surround and overwhelm. What's our response? Hyunwoo asked, We show them why that doesn't work anymore. Jinho's fingers moved across his control panel. Engaging point defense systems, preparing main batteries. The first exchange of fire lasted exactly 12 seconds. The Saurian ships opened up with everything they had: plasma cannons, particle beams, and kinetic projectiles. Their combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. None of it reached the human ship. The indomitable spirit's point defense systems activated with machine precision. Thousands of small laser turrets tracked and destroyed incoming projectiles. Energy shields absorbed what couldn't be shot down. The human ship sailed through the barrage without taking a single hit. In the observation gallery, the alien representatives fell silent. This was not what they had expected to see. Jinho waited for the Federation ships to finish their attack run, then responded with measured force. The human ship's main guns fired 3 times, once at each target. The shots were perfectly placed, striking critical systems without destroying the ships entirely. Within minutes, all 3 Saurian cruisers were dead in space. Their engines were offline, their weapons destroyed, their shields collapsed. The computer declared them totally disabled. The arena fell completely silent. General Vorthak stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His 3 best ships, crewed by elite officers, had been defeated so quickly that the engagement barely qualified as combat. "Computer," he said slowly, "replay the engagement at quarter speed." Everyone watched as the battle played again in slow motion. It became clear that the human ship hadn't even been trying very hard. Its movements were calm and deliberate, like a teacher correcting unruly students. Ambassador Shal'een's crystal body had turned a deep purple color that indicated shock. "How is this possible?" she whispered. Krikstal's mandibles clicked rapidly in the Vextar equivalent of nervous laughter. 3 against 1. It should have been impossible. In the arena, the indomitable spirit hung motionless in the simulated space. Its weapons were already powering down, as if the battle had been nothing more than a minor training exercise. Bo-Ra monitored the alien communications channels as reactions poured in. "Sir, I'm picking up emergency military conferences being called by at least 6 different species. The Corvidians are asking for immediate fleet status reports. The hegemony is demanding technical specifications on our weapons." Hyun-Woo nodded, grimly. The demonstration had achieved its purpose, but it had also created new problems. Fear was a powerful motivator, but it could drive people toward desperate actions. "Send a message to all observing delegations," he ordered. "Remind them that this was a friendly demonstration between allies. Humanity has no aggressive intentions toward any member of the Federation." But even as he said the words, Hyun-Woo knew that everything had changed. The galaxy had just learned that humanity possessed military technology. News of the human demonstration spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours of the combat simulation, emergency broadcasts were being transmitted to every major world in the Federation. The footage of 3 elite Saurian cruisers being disabled in minutes played on screens from the industrial worlds of the core to the frontier colonies on the rim. On the aquatic world of Neptar, Admiral Gluven received the transmission while floating in his command pool. The water around him churned as his powerful tail thrashed in agitation. His species, the Aquari, had ruled the ocean worlds for millennia through superior naval tactics and advanced underwater technology. Now, watching the human ship destroy 3 vessels without effort, he realized that their dominance might be ending. "Summon the Fleet Council immediately," Gluven ordered his aide, a younger Aquari named Blutel. "All admirals, all sector commanders, Emergency session within the hour. Blutel's gills fluttered with nervousness. Sir, Admiral Wafton is currently on patrol in the outer territories. It will take time to reach him. Then record everything and transmit it. The entire Oceanic Defense Fleet needs to see this. Gluvin's large black eyes reflected the holographic display showing the human ship. How many vessels do you think they have? The intelligence report suggests this is just one ship, sir. Their diplomatic vessel. Gluvin's water churned faster. If this was their diplomatic ship, what did their actual warships look like? Meanwhile, on the mountainous world of Corvidia, War Chief Talon Grix stood before a massive war council. The Corvidians were a proud warrior race, resembling enormous ravens with metallic feathers and razor-sharp talons. Their entire culture was built around concepts of honor, strength, and martial prowess. "Show it again," Talon Grix commanded, his voice echoing through the stone amphitheater. For the third time, the council watched the combat footage. The human ship moved through space with a confidence that the Corvidians recognized and respected. This was how a true warrior fought. With overwhelming skill and absolute certainty of victory. "The humans fight like true warriors," declared Sub-Chief Clawrex, his metallic feathers catching the light. "Perhaps we have found worthy allies at last." But War Chief Talon Grix was thinking more strategically. Or perhaps we have found the greatest threat our people have ever faced. Summon the fleet masters. Every ship in the Corvidian Navy is to undergo immediate retrofitting. If these humans can build one such vessel, they can build many. On the indomitable spirit, Communications Officer Dayun worked frantically to manage the flood of incoming messages. Her station was overloaded with diplomatic requests, trade proposals, alliance offers, and barely concealed threats. "Admiral," she called to Hyunwoo, "I'm receiving priority communications from 17 different species. The Zephori are offering immediate technology sharing agreements. The Trade Federation wants exclusive economic partnerships. The Synthesis Collective is requesting detailed technical specifications of our weapon systems." Captain Somin looked up from her tactical displays. "And the less friendly responses." Dayun's expression grew darker. "The Iron Claw Empire has issued what they call a statement of concern about human military expansion. The hegemony is demanding that we submit to Federation weapons inspections, and..." She paused, reading another message. "The Bloodfang pirates have issued a challenge to single combat." Hyunwoo almost smiled at the last one. Pirates challenging a dreadnought to single combat. That's either very brave or very stupid. "Probably both, sir." Strategic Advisor Wu Jin entered the bridge carrying a data tablet filled with intelligence reports. He was an older man who had spent decades studying galactic politics, and his expression was troubled. "Admiral, we need to discuss the political implications of what's happening," he said. "The galaxy is fracturing along new lines." Hyunwoo gestured for him to continue. "3 major blocks are forming," Wu Jin explained, activating a holographics display of the galaxy. Different regions glowed in different colors. Green represents species that want immediate alliance with humanity. They see us as protectors who can guarantee their security. The green areas were mostly smaller worlds on the frontier, places that had been vulnerable to pirates and aggressive neighbors. Yellow represents species trying to maintain neutrality. They're scared of us, but they're also scared of opposing us. They're waiting to see which way the wind blows. Most of the core worlds glowed yellow, including many of the Federation's founding members. "And red?" Hyunwoo asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Red represents the species. that view humanity as an existential threat. They believe we must be contained or eliminated before we become too powerful to stop. The red areas included some of the galaxy's most militaristic civilizations, the Iron Claw Empire, the Saurian hegemony, and several smaller but aggressive species. So-Min studied the display with professional interest. How many ships could the Red faction field if they worked together? Conservative estimate? 3,000 vessels of various classes. If they coordinate properly, they could assemble the largest fleet in galactic history. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The human demonstration had been intended to prevent conflict by showing their strength. Instead, it might have started the largest war the galaxy had ever seen. "Sir," Bo-Ra spoke up from her communication station, "I'm detecting unusual activity on the military networks. Several species are requesting emergency fleet status reports. The Saurians are moving their reserve squadrons to forward positions. The Iron Claw Empire has canceled all military exercises and recalled their ships to defensive positions." Hyun-Woo walked to the main viewing screen, which showed the peaceful space around the diplomatic station. It was hard to believe that their simple demonstration could have triggered such massive changes across the galaxy. Da-Yun, send a message to Earth Command. Inform them of the situation and request guidance. Also, prepare diplomatic communications to all species. We need to make it clear that humanity has no aggressive intentions. Yes, sir. What should I tell the species requesting immediate alliance? Tell them we're honored by their interest and will consider all proposals carefully. But make it clear that humanity's protection isn't for sale. Wu Jin cleared his throat. Admiral, there's something else. Intelligence reports suggest that some of the more desperate species are considering extreme measures, such as preemptive strikes against Earth while our fleet is dispersed. The theory is that destroying our homeworld would eliminate the human threat before it can grow larger. So-Min's hand moved instinctively to her weapon controls. Let them try. They'll learn the same lesson the Saurians did. But Hyun-Woo was thinking about the bigger picture. If multiple species attacked Earth simultaneously, even human technology might not be enough to protect every civilian population center. The cost in lives could be enormous. How long before we receive orders from Earth Command? He asked. Approximately 6 hours for our message to reach them, plus time for analysis and response. Call it 12 hours minimum. 12 hours for the galaxy to spiral further into chaos. Dr. Hae-Jin, the ship's xenobiologist, had been quietly observing the alien reactions through sociological analysis programs. She approached the command group with her findings. Admiral, I've been tracking the psychological patterns in alien communications. Different species are reacting to our demonstration in predictable ways based on their evolutionary backgrounds. Explain. Predator species like the Corvidians see us as potential allies or worthy opponents. Prey species like the Herbani view us as protectors. But the species that evolved as pack hunters or hive minds see us as a threat to their collective security. Which species fall into that last category? The Saurians, the Iron Claw Empire, and most dangerously, the Synthesis Collective. They're used to being apex predators in their respective regions. Our presence threatens their dominance. Hyun-Woo absorbed this information while watching more ships arrive at the station. Word was spreading that history was being made at Kepler 442, and everyone wanted to witness it firsthand. Sir, Bo-Ra announced, priority message from the Zephori ambassador. She's requesting an immediate private meeting. Says it's urgent. Set it up, but maintain security protocols. An hour later, Ambassador Shaline entered the Indomitable Spirit's diplomatic conference room. Her crystal body was shifting through rapid color changes, a sign of extreme stress in her species. "Admiral Hyun-woo," she began without preamble, "my people have a gift for seeing patterns in probability streams. What I have to tell you may save both our species." "I'm listening." "War is coming. Not the small conflicts we've grown accustomed to, but a galaxy-spanning war that will determine who rules the stars for the next 1,000 years. Your demonstration has accelerated forces that were already in motion." "What forces?" Shalene's colors stabilized into a deep blue of sincerity. "The Federation has grown stagnant. Many species chafe under the current power structure, but lack the strength to change it. Your arrival has shown them that change is possible. Some will rally to you as liberators, others will fight you as conquerors. And your people, the Zephori, choose to stand with humanity. But we bring a warning. Trust carefully, Admiral. Not all who offer alliance do so with pure intentions. Some. 2 weeks had passed since the demonstration at Kepler 442. The indomitable spirit was now traveling through the Epsilon Eridani system, returning to Earth with diplomatic reports and intelligence data that would reshape humanity's understanding of galactic politics. Admiral Hyun-woo sat in his ready room, reviewing the latest communications from various alien governments. The responses to humanity's arrival continued to pour in, some promising, others deeply troubling. He was interrupted by the sharp sound of the ship's alert system. "Admiral to the bridge," came Captain So-min's voice over the intercom. "Priority, on emergency." Hyun-woo was on the bridge within seconds. The main display showed a tactical overview of the nearby space, with several objects highlighted in red and yellow. "Report," he ordered. So-min pointed to the display. Long-range sensors detected a distress beacon approximately 4 light minutes away. It's a civilian transport vessel under attack by multiple hostile ships. "Identification on the attackers, Lieutenant." Bora worked her communication controls rapidly. "Confirmed Bloodfang pirate markings, sir. At least 30 vessels of various classes. They have the transport completely surrounded." The Bloodfang pirates were notorious throughout this region of space. Led by a savage creature known as Grimfang, Kartok, they had terrorized shipping lanes for over a decade. Even Federation military forces avoided engaging them when possible. Their ships were fast, their crews were vicious, and they fought with the desperation of beings who knew that. Capture meant execution. "What about the transport?" Hyun-woo asked. Da-eun, monitoring the emergency channels, looked up with a grim expression. "Sir, it's the refugee ship Peaceful Journey. Manifest shows approximately 50,000 civilians aboard, survivors from the Kepler 438 colony that was destroyed last month. The destruction of Kepler 438 had been one of the galaxy's worst disasters in recent memory. A stellar flare had rendered the planet uninhabitable, forcing the entire population to evacuate. These refugees had been traveling from station to station, looking for worlds willing to accept them. 50,000, Wu Jin repeated quietly. "Families, children, elderly, all non-combatants." On the main screen, the tactical situation was becoming clearer. The refugee transport was a massive civilian vessel, built for carrying large numbers of people in basic accommodation. It had minimal shields and no weapons. The Bloodfang ships were circling it like predators around wounded prey. "Sir," Bora announced, "incoming transmission from the pirate fleet. It's on all frequencies. Put it through." The main screen flickered, showing the bridge of a Bloodfang vessel. The creature speaking was clearly Grimfang Kartok himself, a massive humanoid covered in scarred hide, with metal teeth and cybernetic, implants glowing red in the darkness. His voice was like grinding metal. "Unknown vessel, this is Grimfang Kartok of the Bloodfang Pirates. You have entered our hunting ground. Turn away now, or share the fate of these refugees." The transmission switched to show the refugee ship. Fires were burning on multiple decks, and hull breaches were visible along the sides. People were dying while they watched. Grimfang's image returned. "You have 1 minute to change course. After that, we destroy the refugee ship and come for you. No one has ever defeated the Bloodfang fleet. We are 30 ships strong, and we know no mercy." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Hyun-woo looked around at his officers. Every one of them was thinking the same thing. They could help those people. The indomitable spirit was more than capable of dealing with 30 pirate vessels, but they were also on a diplomatic mission under orders to avoid unnecessary conflicts that might destabilize galactic relations. Status. "Report," Hyun-woo ordered, buying time to think. Commander Jin-ho checked his tactical displays. "All weapon systems operational, shields at full power. We could engage the entire pirate fleet without significant risk to ourselves." Time to reach the refugee ship? "At maximum speed, 8 minutes. But, sir, the pirates are already firing." "On the transport, those people don't have 8 minutes. Engineering Chief Soo-young spoke up from her station. "Admiral, I can push the engines beyond safe limits. We could be there in 4 minutes, but it would risk permanent damage to our propulsion systems." Hyun-woo stared at the tactical display. 50,000 innocent lives hung in the balance. But he also had to consider the larger picture. If humanity was seen as aggressive interventionists, it could trigger the very war they were trying to avoid. Several species were already looking for excuses to declare humans a galactic threat. "Sir," Bo-Ra interrupted his thoughts, "I'm receiving emergency transmissions from the refugee ship. They're broadcasting on all channels asking for help. Multiple hull breaches, life support failing, casualties mounting." So-min moved closer to the Admiral. "Sir, we have to do something. We can't just watch 50,000 people die." Woo Jin, ever the strategic thinker, presented the other side. "Admiral, if we engage in combat here, it could be seen as human aggression. The diplomatic mission could be compromised. The aliens might view this as proof that we're a militaristic species." On the screen, the refugee ship shuddered under another barrage from the pirate vessels. Emergency lights flickered along its hull as more systems failed. Hyun-woo closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about the choice before him. He could follow orders, maintain diplomatic protocols, and let 50,000 innocents die. Or he could act according to his conscience and risk everything humanity had worked for. When he opened his eyes, his decision was made. "All hands battle stations," he announced, his voice carrying clearly through the ship. "Engineering, push the engines to emergency power. Navigation, plot an intercept course for the pirate fleet." Soo-young's hands flew over her controls. "Aye, sir. Engine output at 120% of normal capacity. ETA to target, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The indomitable spirit leaped forward like a hunting beast unleashed. Its massive engines flared brighter than stars as it raced toward the battle. "Sir," Da-yun reported, "the pirates have detected our approach. They're demanding that we turn away. Ignore them. Jin-ho, prepare all weapon systems. I want target locks on every pirate vessel." "Weapons ready, sir. Targeting solutions locked." As they approached the battle zone, the full scope of the pirate fleet became visible. 30 ships of various designs, from small fighters to medium cruisers, all bearing the skull and crossbones markings of the Bloodfang pirates. They had spread out around the refugee transport in a classic intimidation formation. New transmission. "Coming in," Bo-Ra announced. Grimfang Kartok appeared on screen again, his metal teeth gleaming. "So, the unknown ship chooses death. Very well. All vessels, destroy the newcomer. Show them what happens to those who challenge the Bloodfang pirates." The pirate fleet immediately began moving to attack positions. Their ships were fast and maneuverable, designed for hit-and-run tactics against poorly defended civilian vessels. Against a Titan-class dreadnought, they were about to learn the difference between hunting prey and fighting a predator. "Sir, the refugee ship is hailing us," Dayun reported. "Put them through." The screen showed the bridge of the civilian transport. It was in chaos, smoke, sparks, and injured people everywhere. The captain was a middle-aged Aquari female, her gills fluttering with stress and exhaustion. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Blue Wave of the Peaceful Journey. We have massive casualties and system failures. Please, help us." "Captain Blue Wave, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of the human vessel Indomitable Spirit. We're here to assist. Get your people to the emergency shelters and prepare for combat in your vicinity." The Aquari captain's large eyes widened with hope. "Human? Vessel? But you're so far from home." "Distance doesn't matter when innocent lives are at stake. Hold on, Captain. This will be over soon." Hyunwoo turned to his weapons officer. "Jin-Ho, you are authorized to engage with full force. End this quickly." "Aye, sir. Engaging now." The first exchange of fire lasted exactly 47 seconds. The pirate ships opened up with everything they had, a chaotic barrage of plasma, bolts, kinetic rounds, and primitive missiles. Their combined firepower lit up space like a deadly fireworks display. None of it was enough. The Indomitable Spirit's point defense systems activated automatically, creating a wall of laser fire that destroyed incoming projectiles before they could reach the ship. The few shots that got through were absorbed by shields so advanced that they barely registered the impacts. Jin-Ho's response was swift and precise. The ship's main cannons fired in careful sequence, each shot aimed at a specific pirate vessel. The Bloodfang ships began exploding one by one, their hulls unable to withstand weapons designed to fight much larger opponents. Within 2 minutes, half the pirate fleet was destroyed or disabled. The survivors tried to scatter, but the Indomitable Spirit's targeting systems tracked them with mechanical precision. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Grimfang Kartok's final transmission was a scream of rage and disbelief as his flagship exploded around him. The Bloodfang pirates, terror of the shipping lanes for over a decade, ceased to exist in less than 5 minutes of combat. The battlefield fell silent, except for the emergency broadcasts from the refugee ship. "All pirate vessels eliminated," Jin-Ho reported. "No damage to our systems. The refugee transport is still in distress. Hyunwoo immediate." The story of the Bloodfang massacre, as it came to be known, spread across the galaxy with unprecedented speed. Within days, every major news network was broadcasting footage of the human rescue operation. The images were powerful, human medical. Teams working alongside alien doctors, treating wounded refugees regardless of species. Human engineers repairing damaged systems while exhausted alien families watched with grateful eyes. On the industrial world of Fabrica Prime, millions of workers stopped their daily routines to watch the broadcasts on public screens. The footage showed human Marines carrying injured alien children to safety, their faces showing the same concern they would have for their own offspring. Krillax, a maintenance worker from the insectoid Zephyrian species, watched as a human medic, treated his injured colleague with careful precision. "Look how gentle they are," he said to his work partner. "These humans, they fight like demons against pirates, but with the innocent, they are as soft as nursemaids." The sentiment was echoed across dozens of worlds. For many ordinary citizens of the galaxy, this was their first real look at human behavior under pressure. What they saw impressed them. On the refugee resettlement world of Haven's Rest, the survivors of the peaceful journey had become living testimonies to human heroism. Captain Blue Wave gave interviews to reporters from across the galaxy, describing how the human ship had appeared like an avenging angel when all hope seemed lost. 50,000 of us would have died that day, she said, her translation device carrying the emotion in her voice to dozens of different languages. But Admiral Hyunwoo and his crew risked their own diplomatic mission to save complete strangers. What kind of people do that? Heroes, that's who. The refugees themselves became powerful advocates for humanity. Families who had lost everything in the destruction of their home world now spoke of the humans as saviors. Children drew pictures of the indomitable spirit in their art classes. Elderly survivors told stories of human kindness to anyone who would listen. Media officer Chan Wu, aboard the indomitable spirit, found himself managing what he could only describe as a propaganda victory beyond anything they could have planned. His communication systems were flooded with interview requests, thank you messages, and offers of support from across the galaxy. "Admiral," he reported to Hyunwoo, "we're receiving over 10,000 messages per hour. Most are positive, but the volume is overwhelming our systems." "What kind of messages?" Hyunwoo asked. "Offers of alliance from smaller worlds, trade proposals, invitations to visit various systems. But also," Chan Wu paused, "requests for protection. It seems that word of our intervention has given hope to other communities threatened by pirates and raiders." Dr. Hyejin, the ship's xenobiologist, had been studying the social impact of their actions through her research networks. She approached the Admiral with her findings while he reviewed diplomatic reports in his ready room. "Admiral, I've been tracking the sociological effects of the rescue operation across different species and cultures. The results are remarkable." She activated a holographic display showing response patterns across the galaxy. Among prey species and peaceful civilizations, support for humanity has increased by over 300%. They see us as protectors who use our strength to defend the weak. The display shifted to show different data. Predator species are split. Some, like the Corvidians, view our actions as honorable and warrior-like. Others are concerned about our willingness to intervene in what they consider natural selection. And the more militaristic civilizations? Dr. Hai Jin's expression grew darker. "That's where the problems begin, sir. In the halls of power across several hostile worlds, the human rescue operation was being viewed through a very different lens. On the capital world of the Iron Claw Empire, Senator Vexthul addressed an emergency session of the Military Council. "Citizens of the Empire," his voice boomed through the great assembly hall. "What we witnessed in the Epsilon Eridani system was not heroism, but a calculated display of human supremacy. They destroyed 30 ships in minutes, then used the rescue operation to paint themselves as saviors." The assembled representatives, creatures with metallic skin and sharp claws, nodded in agreement. The Iron Claw species had built their civilization on the principle that might makes right. To them, the human intervention looked like a threat to the natural order. "Consider the implications," Vexthul continued. "If humans can unilaterally decide which conflicts to join, which pirates to destroy, which refugees to save, then they, have effectively declared themselves the police force of the galaxy. Today it was pirates. Tomorrow it might be legitimate governments they disagree with. Similar discussions were taking place on other worlds. Chancellor Mordek of the Syndicate. Worlds held secret meetings with his military advisors, analyzing the tactical implications of the human victory. 30 ships destroyed in 5 minutes, he said, reviewing the combat data for the 100th time. Their weapons technology is clearly decades ahead of ours, but more concerning is their willingness to use it. General Thorak, the Syndicate's chief military officer, agreed. The pirates served a useful function, Admiral. They kept the smaller worlds dependent on us for protection. Now that the humans have eliminated the Bloodfang fleet, those worlds might start looking elsewhere for security. Exactly. The humans are disrupting carefully maintained power balances. They must be stopped before they become too influential. Back. On the Indomitable Spirit, Intelligence Officer Min Seo had been tracking these hostile responses through various espionage networks. Her analysis painted a troubling picture of galactic opinion. "Sir, we're seeing a clear polarization effect," she reported to the senior staff during their daily briefing. "Species are choosing sides faster than ever before. The moderate voices are being drowned out by extremes." She displayed a galactic map showing political alignments. "The pro-human faction is growing rapidly, especially among smaller worlds and peaceful species. But the anti-human coalition is also consolidating. They're no longer just concerned about our military capabilities. Now they're actively painting us as dangerous interventionists." Captain So Min studied the data with tactical eyes. How many ships could the anti-human coalition field if they worked together? Conservative estimate suggests they could assemble over 4,000 vessels if they coordinate properly. The problem is, they're starting to do exactly that. Wu Jin, the cultural advisor, added his own concerns. The propaganda war is becoming as important as any military conflict. The rescue operation was a tremendous moral victory, but our enemies are using it against us. They're claiming that we're unstable warmongers who attack first and ask questions later. "That's ridiculous," So Min protested. "We saved 50,000 innocent lives." "Yes, but we also eliminated an entire pirate fleet in minutes. To some species, that demonstration of power is more significant than the humanitarian motive behind it." Admiral Hyun Woo listened to the discussion while watching the ongoing rescue operations on his viewing screen. Human and alien medical teams continued working side by side, treating the last of the wounded refugees. The sight reminded him why they had made their choice. "Any word from Earth Command about our actions?" he asked. "Official response is still being formulated," Min Seo replied. "But preliminary indications suggest they support our decision. The humanitarian angle is playing well in human media." And unofficially, Fleet Command is concerned about the diplomatic implications, but they're also proud of what we accomplished. The rescue operation has generated more positive coverage for humanity than years of formal diplomacy. Dr. Hai Jin interjected with another observation. "Admiral, there's something else worth noting. The refugee children we rescued are already showing signs of psychological bonding with their human rescuers. Several species are reporting similar phenomena among their populations, increased trust and emotional connection with humanity based on our actions. That could be significant in the long term," Wu Jin agreed. "Emotional bonds between species can be more powerful than formal treaties." But even as they discussed the positive effects, everyone on the bridge understood that they had crossed a line. Humanity was no longer just another species seeking membership in galactic civilization. They had become players in the great game of interstellar politics, with all the dangers that entailed. The communication system chimed with another incoming message. Chan Wu checked the source and looked up with surprise. "Sir, it's from the Corvidian War Chief Talon Grix. He's requesting a personal meeting with you." "What kind of meeting?" "He wants to discuss what he calls matters of mutual honor and strategic interest. His message emphasizes that the Corvidians view our actions against the pirates as honorable combat." Hyunwoo considered this development. The Corvidians were one of the galaxy's most respected warrior cultures. Their support could be valuable, but it might also further polarize galactic opinion. Set up the meeting, he decided, but maintain full security protocols. As the indomitable spirit continued its journey home, carrying with it the gratitude of 50,000 refugees and the attention of an entire galaxy, Admiral Hyun-woo reflected on how quickly everything had changed. They had come to space as explorers and diplomats. Now they were being seen as either saviors or three. 3 months had passed since the Bloodfang incident, and the galaxy had not returned to its previous state of stability. In hidden chambers and secure communication networks across dozens of worlds, a conspiracy was taking shape. 7 of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had begun coordinating their response to what they called the human problem. The meeting took place in the neutral space of the Void Station, a massive structure built in the empty space between star systems. The station had been constructed centuries ago as a place where enemies could meet without giving advantage to either side. Today, it hosted the most dangerous gathering in galactic history. Senator Vex Thule of the Ironclaw Empire arrived first, his metallic skin gleaming under the station's artificial lights. He was followed by Chancellor Mordek of the Syndicate Worlds, a pale humanoid with calculating eyes. One by one, the other conspirators gathered. Admiral Rextar of the Hegemony Navy, Trademaster Zilvin of the Commerce Guild, Hive Mind Speaker Omnitel of the Synthesis Collective, and War Leader Gorthak of the Savage Brotherhood. The 7th member of the coalition was the most surprising, General Vorthak of the Saurian Empire, the same officer who had challenged the humans to their first demonstration of power. "Gentlemen," Senator Vexthul began, his voice echoing in the secure chamber, "we all know why we are here. The human threat grows stronger with each passing day. Their technology, their willingness to intervene in galactic affairs, their growing influence, all of it represents a danger to the established order." Chancellor Mordek activated a holographic display showing recent intelligence reports. "Our analysis indicates that humanity possesses at least 50 Titan-class vessels, with production capacity for many more. If current trends continue, they will have the largest fleet in the galaxy within 5 years. The assembled leaders studied the data with growing alarm. None of their individual civilizations could match such numbers, especially not with humanity's apparent technological advantages. Admiral Rextar, a scarred veteran of numerous conflicts, spoke with the authority of experience. "Raw numbers are only part of the threat. Intelligence reports suggest that human weapons technology is decades ahead of our own. The Bloodfang incident demonstrated that they can destroy multiple vessels without taking significant damage. The refugees they rescued have become living propaganda," added Trademaster Zilvin, his species' natural cunning evident in his tone. "Everywhere they settle, support for humanity grows. They're building an emotional foundation for galactic dominance." But it was Hive Mind Speaker Omnitel who presented the most chilling analysis. The Synthesis Collective was known for their ability to process vast amounts of information and predict future trends with uncanny accuracy. Our calculations indicate a 73% probability that humanity will dominate galactic civilization within 20 standard years, Omnitel stated in the mechanical voice typical of their species. They will not necessarily conquer through force, but through a combination of military superiority, technological advancement, and moral influence. General Vorthok, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. I have seen their capabilities firsthand. My best ships were defeated in minutes during what they considered a training exercise. If we are to stop them, it must be now, while they are still few in number. What do you propose? Senator Vexthul asked. War leader Gorthek, whose species valued direct action above all else, slammed his fist on the table. Destroy their homeworld while their fleet is scattered. Strike at Earth before they can consolidate their forces. And trigger a war that could devastate the galaxy? Chancellor Mordek objected. We need a more subtle approach. The debate continued for hours, with each leader presenting their perspective on how to deal with humanity. Some favored immediate military action, others preferred economic pressure or political isolation, but gradually a consensus began to emerge. We form a military coalition, Senator Vexthul concluded. Each of our civilizations contributes ships and resources. Together, we assemble a fleet large enough to overwhelm even human technology through sheer numbers. Admiral Rextar nodded approvingly. The largest fleet in galactic history. Even if their individual ships are superior, they cannot fight 3,000 vessels simultaneously. And the target? War leader Gorthak asked eagerly. Earth, General Vorthak said grimly. Remove their homeworld, and the human expansion stops permanently. Their colonies will be isolated and eventually absorbed by our respective civilizations. Plan was brutal in its simplicity. 7 civilizations would coordinate their military forces for a single overwhelming assault on humanity's birth world. The attack would be swift and decisive, leaving no time for human reinforcements to arrive. Trademaster Zilvan raised a practical concern. Such a large fleet will require enormous resources to assemble and supply. The logistics alone could bankrupt smaller members of our coalition. The Synthesis Collective will handle logistical coordination, Omnitel stated. Our computational abilities are ideally suited for managing complex supply chains. And the Ironclaw Empire will provide secure communication networks, added Senator Vexthul. Human intelligence capabilities are unknown, but we must assume they are significant. Over the following weeks, the conspiracy expanded beyond the original 7 leaders. Spymaster Silvek of the Shadow Guild was recruited to coordinate intelligence gathering on human military capabilities. His network of agents began systematically infiltrating human space, gathering data on fleet positions, defensive installations, and technological capabilities. Admiral Tix Gore of the Combined Fleet Command was placed in charge of military coordination. His task was to merge 7 different military doctrines into a single effective fighting force. It was a challenge that had never been attempted on such a scale. The key, Thaxgore explained to his staff officers, is overwhelming firepower, applied simultaneously. Human point defense systems are excellent, but they have limits. If we attack with enough ships from enough directions, some of our weapons will get through. The fleet assembly began in remote systems, far from normal shipping lanes where human intelligence might detect the buildup. Warships from across the galaxy converged on hidden staging areas. Supply depots were established to support the massive, logistical requirements of the operation. Meanwhile, on the Indomitable Spirit, Intelligence Officer Min Seo had begun noticing unusual patterns in galactic communication traffic. Encrypted messages were being passed between civilizations that normally had little contact with each other. Military exercises were being conducted in unusual locations. Ship movements didn't match reported missions. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Hyun-woo during their daily intelligence briefing, "something large is being planned. I'm detecting coordination between multiple species that have never worked together before." Coordination regarding what? That's the problem. Most of the communications are heavily encrypted, but the patterns suggest military planning on an unprecedented scale. Tactical analyst Jae Sung had been studying the same data from a different angle. "Admiral, if I were planning an operation against humanity, I would do exactly what we're seeing here. Dispersed assembly areas, secure communications, coordination between traditional enemies. It all points to preparation for a major offensive." Captain So Min reviewed the intelligence summaries with growing concern. "How large an operation are we talking about?" "Based on ship movement patterns and resource allocation, potentially 3,000 to 4,000 vessels, Min Seo replied. "Far. Larger than any single civilization could field. The implications were staggering. If multiple alien civilizations were indeed coordinating against humanity, the resulting conflict would be the largest war in galactic history. Even worse, Earth would be the obvious target for such a massive force." "Estimated timeline?" Hyun-woo asked. "Difficult to determine precisely, but the supply patterns suggest active preparation rather than long-term planning. Weeks rather than months." Hyun-woo immediately contacted Earth Command with their intelligence findings. The response was swift and decisive. All human vessels were to return to Earth immediately. If a massive alien fleet was indeed being assembled, humanity would meet it with their full strength. But as the Indomitable Spirit changed course for home, everyone aboard understood that they might be racing toward the most critical battle in human history. The deed they had performed in saving those refugees had created heroes and villains throughout the galaxy. Now those villains were coming for humanity's home. In the hidden staging areas, Admiral Taxgore watched his fleet grow larger each day. Sleek Saurian cruisers docked alongside the brutal warships of the Savage Brotherhood. The technological marvels of the Synthesis Collective shared space with the efficient vessels of the Commerce Guild. "Over 3,000 ships," he reported to the coalition leaders. "The largest military force ever assembled. Even the humans cannot stand against such numbers." But as he spoke those confident words, Taxgore couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The humans had surprised everyone before, from their initial arrival to their devastating defeat of the pirates. What surprises might they have waiting when the coalition arrived at Earth? The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the future of galactic civilization. Admiral Hyun-woo stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable Spirit as they approached Earth's orbital space. What he saw there took his breath away, despite his years of military experience. The space around humanity's homeworld buzzed. With activity unlike anything in the planet's history, massive shipyards stretched across Earth's orbital plane, their construction frameworks glowing with the light of countless welding torches and assembly systems. But these were not the shipyards that the galactic community knew about. These were facilities that had been hidden from alien eyes, operating in secret for over 50 years. "My God," Captain So Min whispered beside him. "How long has this been going on?" The answer came from Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun, humanity's highest military commander, who had come aboard the indomitable Spirit for a personal briefing. He was an older man with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many classified operations. Before first contact, Dong-hyun explained, our deep space probes detected the galactic civilizations decades ago. We've been preparing for this moment ever since. The numbers were staggering. As they toured the orbital facilities, Hyun-woo learned that humanity had been building not just ships, but an entire hidden fleet. 200 Titan-class dreadnoughts lay in various stages of completion, their hulls bristling with weapon systems that made the indomitable Spirit look outdated. The ships you've seen so far were our early models, Fleet Admiral Dong-hyun continued. Diplomatic vessels designed to make first contact without appearing too threatening. These, he gestured, toward a massive vessel being fitted with armor plating, these are our true warships. Engineering Director Hayrin, who oversaw the orbital construction programs, provided the technical details. She was a brilliant woman whose innovations had revolutionized human shipbuilding. Each new Titan-class vessel incorporates lessons learned from galactic technology, she explained. Advanced shielding, improved weapon systems, enhanced AI coordination. We've also developed smaller ship classes, 500 heavy cruisers, and 2,000 escort vessels. Commander Yu-jin, who would captain one of the new Titan-class ships called the Eternal Vigilance, joined the briefing. She was younger than most fleet commanders, but her tactical innovations had earned rapid promotion. Sir, she addressed Fleet, Admiral Dong-hyun, intelligence reports suggest the alien coalition has assembled over 3,000 ships. Even with our technological advantages, those are difficult odds. Numbers aren't everything, Dong-hyun replied, but they do matter. That's why we've made certain preparations. He led them to a secure briefing room deep within the command station. The holographic displays showed Earth's defensive arrangements in detail. The planet was surrounded by multiple layers of protection, orbital weapons platforms, automated defense satellites, and mobile fleet units. The enemy expects to find a lightly defended world with perhaps a dozen ships for protection, Dong-hyun explained. Instead, they'll face the full might of humanity's military, 700 ships of various classes, all equipped with our most advanced technology. Intelligence Chief Nari provided the latest updates on enemy movements. She was a sharp-eyed woman who had built humanity's intelligence network from nothing. The Coalition fleet has begun moving from their staging areas, she reported. Admiral Taxscore is commanding from a Synthesis Collective command ship. Current course indicates they'll arrive at Earth in approximately 72 hours. Their composition? Hyun-woo asked. 3,200 vessels confirmed. Mix of ship classes from 7 different civilizations, the largest single force in galactic history. Captain So-min studied the tactical projections with professional interest. Their coordination could be a weakness. 7 different command structures, different tactical doctrines, different communication protocols. Our thoughts exactly, agreed Commander Yu-jin. But we can't count on their incompetence. Some of those civilizations have excellent military records. Fleet Admiral Dong-hyun activated another display showing the human fleet's deployment plan. We'll meet them beyond Neptune's orbit, far enough from Earth to protect civilian populations, close enough to our supply bases for sustained combat. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The human fleet would deploy in a defensive formation designed to maximize their technological advantages while minimizing the enemy's numerical superiority. Advanced AI systems would coordinate targeting and movement, allowing human ships to act as a single unified force. What about civilian evacuations? Hyun-woo asked. thinking about the billions of people on Earth's surface. Unnecessary, Dong-hyun replied firmly. The battle will be decided in space. Either we win and protect Earth, or we lose and evacuations won't matter anyway. As the briefing concluded, Hyun-woo found himself both impressed and troubled by the scope of humanity's preparations. The hidden shipyards and secret fleets showed remarkable foresight and planning. But they also suggested that humanity had always expected this conflict to come. "Sir," he asked Fleet Admiral Dong-hyun privately, "did we want this war?" The older officer considered the question carefully. "Want it? No. Expect it? Yes. The galaxy operates on the principle that might makes right. By demonstrating superior military capability, we made ourselves a target. The only question was whether they would attack us immediately or wait until we grew stronger. And the refugee rescue operation accelerated their timeline. Nothing more. If we hadn't acted to save those people, the coalition would have formed anyway. At least this way, we go into battle knowing we're fighting for the right reasons." Over the next 48 hours, Earth's orbital space transformed into the largest military staging area in human history. Ships arrived from distant systems where humanity had been secretly establishing colonies and industrial bases. The full scope of human expansion became clear. They had been far busier in space than the galactic community realized. On the bridge of the Eternal Vigilance, Commander Yu-jin watched the fleet assembly with professional admiration. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, incorporating technologies that the aliens had never seen. Quantum-locked targeting systems, multi-dimensional shielding, weapons that could fire through subspace itself. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors are detecting the approaching coalition fleet. They're maintaining formation at the edge of the solar system." Yu-jin studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was enormous, spreading across space like a metal storm cloud. But she also noticed something interesting about their formation. "They're staying clustered together," she observed. "Classic doctrine for inferior technology. Mass your forces and overwhelm the enemy through sheer firepower." "Will it work?" her weapons officer asked. "We're about to find out." Admiral Taxgor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human solar system grow larger on his screens. Intelligence reports had prepared him for Earth's defenses, but seeing them with his own eyes was still impressive. The planet was surrounded by a network of defensive installations that spoke of serious military planning. "Signal all fleet commanders," he ordered. "Maintain attack formation. Target the human homeworld. Once we destroy their population center, their colonies will surrender." But as the coalition fleet moved deeper into the solar system, Taxgor began to notice things that troubled him. His sensors were detecting more human ships than intelligence had suggested. "Much more. How many vessels are we reading?" he asked his tactical officer. "Approximately 700, sir. Far more than expected. 700 ships was still outnumbered by the coalition's 3,000, but it was also far more than the lightly defended world they had been expecting. Worse, the human ships were larger and more heavily armed than the intelligence reports had indicated. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through." The main screen showed Admiral Hyun-woo, now wearing the insignia of the human home fleet. Behind him, the bridge of his ship hummed with quiet efficiency. "Admiral Taxgor," Hyun-woo said calmly. "I am Admiral Hyun-woo of the Human Defense Force. Your fleet has entered our sovereign space without permission. I'm ordering you to withdraw immediately." The Taxgor's response was predictable. "Human, Your species has become a threat to galactic stability. We are here to eliminate that threat. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." "That's unfortunate," Hyunwoo replied. "We were hoping for a peaceful resolution." The transmission ended, leaving both fleets facing each other across the void. On one side, 3,000 ships representing 7 alien civilizations, united by fear and determination to preserve the old order. On the other, 700 human vessels equipped with technology that would redefine the nature of space warfare. Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun, commanding from Earth's orbital fortress, opened a communication channel to all human ships. "All units, this is Fleet Command. The enemy has refused our offer of withdrawal. You are authorized to engage with full force. Protect Earth. Protect humanity. Show them what happens when someone threatens our home." The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Battle of Sol began at 1432 Earth Standard Time, when Admiral Tiaxgor ordered his massive fleet to advance on the human positions. 3,200 alien vessels moved forward in a formation that stretched across millions of kilometers of space. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, representing the combined might of 7 civilizations. Admiral Hyun-woo watched from the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit as the enemy fleet approached. Behind him, 700 human ships waited in defensive formation. The odds were more than 4-1 against them, but every human officer understood what was at stake. This battle would determine whether humanity survived as an independent species or was absorbed into the galactic order. "All ships, maintain formation," Hyunwoo ordered through the fleet communication network. "Let them come to us. We fight on our terms." The alien fleet opened fire first. Thousands of weapons lit up space with deadly energy. Plasma cannons, particle beams, kinetic projectiles, and exotic weapons from a dozen different technologies. The combined firepower was enough to sterilize entire worlds. Commander Yu Jin, aboard the Eternal Vigilance, watched the enemy barrage approach with professional calm. "Point defense systems active. All hands, brace for impact." What happened next shocked both sides of the conflict. The human ship's defensive systems activated with mechanical precision. Advanced point defense networks created walls of laser, fire that destroyed incoming projectiles. Energy shields absorbed what couldn't be shot down. Quantum barriers deflected exotic attacks back at their sources. The massive alien barrage, capable of destroying fleets of conventional ships, barely scratched the human vessels. "Impossible," Admiral Tiaxgor whispered, watching his carefully planned attack fail completely. "Our intelligence said their technology was advanced, not—" He struggled for words. "Not this advanced." Captain So-min, monitoring the battle from her position on the Indomitable Spirit, analyzed the enemy formation with tactical expertise. "Sir, they're grouping tighter together. Classic panic response. Mass firepower when individual attacks fail." "Then let's show them why that's a mistake," Hyunwoo replied. "All ships begin counterattack. Target their command vessels first." The human response was swift and devastating. Unlike the chaotic alien barrage, human weapons fired with surgical precision. Each shot was calculated by advanced AI systems to cause maximum damage to critical systems. The alien coalition had never faced anything like it. Commander Yu Jin's ship engaged a group of Saurian heavy cruisers. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Dong Min, coordinated the attack with cold efficiency. "Target the lead cruiser's command section," Yu Jin ordered. "Disable their coordination capabilities." The Eternal Vigilance's main cannon fired once. The Saurian cruiser exploded in a ball of superheated plasma, taking its command crew and tactical computers with it. The remaining cruisers immediately lost formation cohesion, their carefully planned attack dissolving into confusion. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as human ships systematically dismantled the alien formation. Advanced targeting systems allowed them to strike at weak points with devastating accuracy. Ships that had served their civilizations for decades were destroyed in seconds. Admiral T.X. Gore realized within the first hour that the battle was lost. His massive numerical advantage meant nothing against technology so superior that it redefined the nature of space combat. But he also understood that retreat would mean political destruction for every civilization in the coalition. All ships, concentrate fire on single targets, he ordered desperately. If we focus our entire fleet on one human ship, we can overwhelm their defenses. The strategy worked, briefly. The combined firepower of hundreds of alien vessels finally managed to destroy a human escort ship. But the cost was enormous. The aliens lost over 50 ships to eliminate one enemy vessel. Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun, monitoring the battle from Earth's command center, made a strategic decision that would echo through history. All ships, implement the Omega Protocol, and this quickly. Dr. Hayrin, watching from the orbital shipyards, knew what that order meant. The Omega Protocol unleashed humanity's most advanced weapons, systems so powerful they had been kept secret, even from their own crews until this moment. The human ships suddenly changed their attack patterns. Instead of precise strikes against individual vessels, they began firing weapons that could destroy multiple targets simultaneously. Quantum cascade. Torpedoes created chain reactions that tore through entire enemy formations. Subspace disruptors collapsed the structural integrity of dozens of ships at once. Within 3 hours, half the alien coalition fleet was destroyed or disabled. The survivors, scattered across the solar system, began attempting to retreat. But human ships pursued them with relentless efficiency, ensuring that few would escape to report the true extent of humanity's capabilities. Admiral Thax Gore's flagship was among the last vessels destroyed. His final transmission was a warning to the galaxy. They are not what they seem, the humans. They have been preparing for this war longer than we imagined. Tell the galaxy. Tell them we were wrong about everything. The Battle of Sol lasted 18 hours and ended with humanity's complete victory. Of the 3,200 alien vessels that had attacked Earth, fewer than 200 escaped. The coalition's defeat was so decisive that it triggered immediate political collapse across multiple civilizations. 1 year later, Ambassador He Wan stood in the assembly hall of what was now called the Galactic Alliance headquarters. The old Federation had dissolved within months of the battle, replaced by a new organization based on principles that humanity had introduced. Protection for all sentient species, regardless of their military power. The age of might makes right. Is over, she announced to the assembled representatives. Today, we begin a new era of galactic civilization founded on justice and mutual protection. The audience included many familiar faces. Krix Tal, the former Vextar diplomat, now served as humanity's closest alien ally. Ambassador Shaline had become the Alliance's Minister of Peaceful Development. Even some former enemies, like General Vorth-Ak, had accepted positions in the New Order after their governments collapsed. Captain Blue Wave, the refugee ship captain whose rescue had started everything, spoke during the ceremony about the transformation she had witnessed. 1 year ago, my people were dying in space while pirates attacked our ship. Today, my children attend schools on a dozen different worlds, protected by human fleets that patrol the galaxy. This is what justice looks like. Admiral Hyun Woo, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, commanded a force of 500 Titan-class ships that maintained peace across the galaxy. The indomitable spirit, upgraded with the latest technology, continued its missions, but now with a different purpose. Instead of seeking first contact, it ensured that no species would suffer as those refugees had suffered. The human fleet's patrols had eliminated piracy as a significant threat. Worlds that had lived in fear for centuries now prospered under the protection of ships that could arrive within days of any distress call. The old power structures that had maintained themselves through controlled chaos were replaced by genuine security. Dr. Nari, now Director of Galactic Studies, published her final report on the transformation exactly 1 year after the Battle of Seoul. Her conclusions would become required reading in schools across hundreds of worlds. The human intervention in the Epsilon Eridani system demonstrated that a single act of moral courage could reshape galactic civilization, she wrote. But it was not the military victory that changed everything. It was the choice to use superior power for protection rather than conquest. The report continued. Previous galactic powers maintained control through fear and dependency. Humanity maintains peace through strength and justice. The difference has created the most stable period in galactic history. In the outer systems, where the Bloodfang pirates had once terrorized shipping lanes, civilian transports now traveled freely under the protection of human patrol fleets. Children who had never known safety began to dream of futures beyond mere survival. Fleet Admiral Hyun Woo stood on the bridge of the indomitable spirit, watching a routine patrol mission in what had once been the most dangerous region of space. His crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring communications for any signs of trouble. "Sir," Communications Officer Da Yun reported, "Civilian transport Happy Wanderer is reporting successful completion of their trade mission. No incidents, no threats detected." "Acknowledged," Hyunwoo replied. "Continue monitoring." It was a simple exchange, but it represented something unprecedented in galactic history: normal civilian life protected by overwhelming military superiority used responsibly. The endless consequences of their choice to rescue those refugees had created a galaxy where strength served justice instead of oppression. Lieutenant Bo-Ra, still monitoring communication networks after all these years, looked up from her station. "Sir, I'm receiving gratitude messages from the Kepler 442 station. They're celebrating the anniversary of first contact with humanity." "Send our regards," Hyunwoo ordered, "and remind them that humanity's greatest honor is the trust other species place in us." As the indomitable spirit continued its patrol, its crew reflected on how much had changed sin